Hey everyone, welcome back to the Fish Room. So we are coming up on the end of 2024, and I thought it would be fun to do one last Fish Room tour for the year. So I'd give you a little update. Tanks are looking really good today. Why don't we walk on over here? Where to start? Let's start here. So this is our 200-gallon cube tank. So the great thing about this tank is that it's pretty viewable from both sides. I built the aquascape to be very thoughtful in that regard. So I built this out of wood, waterproofed it, put these two glass panels in for viewing, and then I have these beautiful albino Malawian cichlids in here. This is the only adult male in here right now. He is actually the father of most of the other fish in here. So I was breeding blue neon peacocks, and I randomly got a few albinos in one of the spawns. So I raised those up and bred them, and they seem to be line breeding pretty well. The rest of the fish in here are starting to show some color. They're not quite there yet. And the great thing about these fish is the females even, I think, are pretty good looking as well. They have this like range of peach to white bodies, which I think is a pretty cool looking fish. And they do pretty well in here in this 200-gallon. The group is a little large as they grow. When they grow to full maturity, I'll probably have to rehome maybe half of them. So yeah, I love this aquarium. One of my favorites. I'm probably going to say that about most tanks, but this one really is a showstopper in my opinion. Why don't we move on? This is just a grow-out tank, another glass build that I built myself out of scrap glass that I had just lying around. It just kind of fit nicely in this section, and we just have some juvenile haplochromines growing out. These are Stigmatochromis melancros. They get like a midnight green color to them, but sometimes when they're breeding, that kind of shifts to like a midnight blue. It's a very pretty fish. All right, let's go to one of my true favorites, and this is a fan favorite as well. People love this tank. This is our 600-gallon Malawian cichlid aquarium. This is filled with beautiful peacocks and haps and buna from Lake Malawi in Eastern Africa. So this tank is obviously big. It's 9 feet long, 4 feet wide, and a bit under 3 feet tall. And it is stocked. It's stocked with a lot of fish. Frankly, it's probably a little overstocked right now. Well, that whole half is empty, but when they cluster together, it's definitely quite a sight. Long term, as some of these fish grow even more, because they will, I'll probably rehome some of these. These yellow labs, I don't even want them in here. I literally can't get rid of them. It's impossible to catch them out of this tank, and they won't stop breeding. So I guess if you're gonna have a nuisance fish, it might as well be yellow labs, right? They're gorgeous. But the stars of this tank are meant to be the haplochromines. So we have these blue dolphin cichlids, we have some albino blue dolphins, we have venustus, which here's a male. So the male's, that body will turn completely yellow. We have some OB peacocks, and these buccochromis fish right here, which are just starting to mature. They're not showing, this fish is starting to show some male coloration, but they're beautiful when they get full grown. We have some Exochromis anagenus, the 3-spot torpedo. I mean, just a ton of fish in here. To really show off the fish, I went with a black background for the waterproofing because this is a wood aquarium. This is another tank that I built. It's made out of wood. You waterproof it, you put a glass panel in the front. So I went with a black waterproofing epoxy, white sand to really lighten it up, because black sand looks good, but it absorbs so much light. It would have been so expensive to light this tank with black sand. And these rocks in here, I mean, this is probably maybe 2,000 pounds of rock in here, so it was a chore aquascaping this thing, to be sure. But I don't know, what do you guys think? I think it's worth it. This is one heck of a tank, in my opinion. So yeah, I love this tank. It's an absolute beast of an aquarium filled with some amazing fish. But we got a lot to look at, so let's move on. All right, let's come over here. Let's talk the top tank first. This is another custom build. I built this 225-gallon aquarium out of low iron glass. And this houses some of my prized cichlids from Madagascar. So these fish are very special to me. I keep these not because they're beautiful, because, I mean, let's be honest, they're not the prettiest fish. You know, this one looks kind of good, but the rest, I mean, they're not the most beautiful thing you've seen. But I keep them because they are endangered in the wild. And this is a conservation tank for me. I'm trying to breed these fish. This is the Paratroplus maculatus, the spotted damba. And this one is actually pretty good looking, especially the males when they hit the light right. So that's a good looking fish, I think. You know, it's not bright yellow or blue or anything, but I still think it looks good. These are like the holy grail fish for me. And this is an even duller looking fish. I mean, that's a brown and gray. You maybe got some red in the nose, but this is the Paratroplus damii. I think there's maybe one other person in the country, in the United States, that keeps this fish. I got it from them when they had a successful spawn. So I'm really hoping that I can get these guys to breed for me someday. I mean, if that ever happens, you will see me. I will make a video rejoicing over the success. Same too if these guys ever breed. So coming down below, this is just a standard 125. All the fish seem to be hiding right now, so we might come back to this later with some B-roll footage. So down here in this bottom tank, we're using this as a grow out. These fish don't look like much right now. These are Mylochromis gracilis. Most of them are. Some of them are some other Stigmatochromis species, but the main fish growing in this tank are the Mylochromis. This is a species I've not kept before, and it is a very rare fish. So I'm very excited to see what they look like when they grow up. Right now, I mean, obviously they're just silver or gray, not much to look at. But one day, I bet you they're going to be showstoppers, and I look forward to sharing them with you when that time comes. Let's move on to, let's save this one for last, because this is a treat. You're getting a brief view of some of my monsters, but let's come back to that later. All right, so over here we have two 125 gallons. Let's do the top tank first. All right, this 125 has some blue fish in it, or some white bluish. These, okay, believe it or not, these are actually the exact same species as yellow labs, but they're from a different collection point. They're from Lundo Island, or around Lundo Island. So they're blue. Well, they're like a whitish blue. They're not the white labs. The white labs are from Encata Bay. So the white labs are a version of this fish that are completely white with a black dorsal fin. But these are like a white-blue color. And they have also like darker stripes as well. Really cool fish, I think. Here's one of the males. Really cool fish. But the other fish in here is the Mylochromis anaphermus. Absolutely beautiful haplochromite from Lake Malawi. Really rare fish. I think I know of one person in the country that sells them, and that's not even regularly. So I was lucky. I waited for a long time to get these fish, and I considered myself fortunate when they became available. They're adults now. I'm actually trying to breed them. I've bred them before. I need to do it again because I need a ooh, look at him, he's showing. I need to get a good safety population going on. I like to have backups of my rarest fish. So if anything were to happen, like a catastrophe were to happen in this tank. So yeah, a great tank. I love the fish in here. Going down below, we have another 125. This has some really cool fish in it. All right, so first let's talk about the Exochromis anagenus, the 3-spot torpedo. Now we have some of these fish in the big 600 gallon, but this is, I'm still growing these guys up, and I'm actually trying to select down to some females for breeding purposes. So I'm selecting them out as I see them holding eggs, and that's kind of what they're doing in here. But the other fish in here is a really interesting specimen. These are the Taniolethrinops praeorbitalis, and they're pretty silvery right now. They're still growing. They haven't gotten their color. They turn like a pearlescent bluish green color, or I would say maybe, yeah, bluish green. The main awesome thing about these fish is their fins. Their dorsal fins get huge. And that male, I'm hoping he shows. They're just a really cool fish, really uncommon. If you go to a specialty African cichlid seller, they might have them. So they're not the rarest thing. Hard to come by, but maybe not the rarest. But I don't think enough people keep them. Yeah, like look at that thing. Even without his color, it's a cool fish. So I'm excited to see them grow up. They get about 12 inches, I hear. These guys right now are about 5, maybe 6 inches. So they got some growing to do. All right, so wrapping around, we have our smallest tanks, 2 75 gallons. These are our smallest aquariums. So up top in this first breeding 75 gallon breeder tank, we have, this is another endangered cichlid from Madagascar. This is the Tychochromis maintii. Not much to look at, I get it. But I'm gonna actually drop in some B-roll footage of what they look like when they're breeding. Here's a pair of fish in breeding colors. So it's night and day, right? In this state, they are actually a very attractive aquarium fish. They look like this about half the time. If you ever want to keep this fish, they're endangered in the wild, so it's a good conservation species. But also, if you have a good breeding pair, then about half the time, you'll have a pair of showstoppers. The other half, you know, they're still cool. I find them to be a very interesting fish, regardless of their color. So that is the conservation purpose of this tank up top. Coming down below, this is another breeding setup. This is where I'm trying to breed the Mylochromis anaphermis. So we have 1 male in here and 3 females. All right, so that's what we're using these 2 75s for. Let's come over here to, this is one of the newest additions to the fish room. This is a 300 gallon acrylic aquarium. I built this myself. This was the second acrylic tank I've built. We'll get to the first in a second. But this one is really cool. It's 8 feet long. Let's go ahead and look at the fish. This is home to my prized Paratroplus minorambo, aka the pinstripe damba. These are, again, another fish from Madagascar. These might be the most beautiful Madagascan cichlid. There's a couple others that, you know, might tie or be in contention. Some people might argue with me here, but I think, oh man, look at that. So you gotta admit this is a nice looking fish right there. And the body shape actually kind of reminds me of a marine specimen, but they're freshwater. But we got it in here in this 300 gallon aquarium. We have 8 specimens. We keep them with some denison barbs, just as like a good schooling fish. We also have them with some more starry night cichlids. These Paratilapia cichlids, I'm actually going to move them to their own breeding aquarium soon. But this is a great tank. I love it. All right, moving on. This is the first acrylic aquarium I've ever built. This is a 125. I mimicked the exact same dimensions as a standard 125 glass, but I was making it out of acrylic. It was actually a test build. Before I built the 300 gallon, I used the cut-off acrylic, basically the extra scrap acrylic, to build this 125, kind of just to practice. And it actually turned out so good, even though it was the practice tank, I decided to set it up. So this magnificent tank is home to my mangrove trees. These are actual trees, living trees that I'm growing here in my basement. They are really taking off. I trimmed them a few months ago, and some of them have just exploded since then. Now they're forking, so I trimmed them and they sprouted 2 offshoots. I would have preferred them to regrow the middle shoot and sprout 2 offshoots to end with 3, similar to what has happened with, you know, most of the other trees in here. But also up here for some reason it did that as well. So I'm not sure why in the past I've gotten 3 offshoots from doing that trimming, but now in some of these I'm only getting 2. But they're growing magnificently. Down below we have a tank full of fish that are not coming out right now. I will have to get B-roll footage of them later. We do have some rainbow fish in here for an added splash of color. Okay, so here are the other fish. The main reason I have this tank. These are Tychochromis insulatus. This is a fish that is extinct in the wild, Almost certainly. It's obviously the ugliest thing I got in here, but I'm keeping this just to breed these fish and propagate the species to other hobbyists to do my part. All right, why don't we move on over here to this tank. This is another acrylic aquarium. It's not one that I built. I bought it used. Probably wouldn't do it again. There's been a lot of issues with this tank, unfortunately, but it's working for now. This is an 8-foot aquarium, and it houses more cichlids of Madagascar. These are the Tychochromis grandidieri, sometimes known as the East Coast gold. So they're a beautiful fish. They get pretty big, about, I don't know, 10 inches, but some reports have them up to 14 inches. So decently sized fish. And they get this, they develop this beautiful golden greenish color. They have those black splotches, which are also pretty cool. But very, very awesome fish. Love them. Really enjoy them in this tank. All right, so over here we have the last couple fish tanks in the fish room. Another pair of standard 125 gallons. So just your regular glass aquariums, double stacked. Up top, these are some really pretty peacocks. So let's go ahead and zoom in on the fish. This tank has some beautiful peacocks in it, some Malawi African peacocks. These are lemon jake peacocks. They are close to adulthood. We have some males that are obviously colored up and a random yellow lab in here. But we also have a lot of females and also a lot of males that are not colored yet. But once these guys really start popping, like this guy's looking pretty good. Both those guys are looking pretty good. Yeah. So this 125 is purely a grow-out aquarium. We have some more Buccochromis rhodesii in here. These are just grown up. When they get big enough, I will move them to the 600 gallon. Most of these are going to be rehomed. I don't have enough space for all these fish. So once I get a clearly identified group of a good ratio of males and females, once I am sure that I have the right number of each sex that I want, I will give away or sell, or I'll rehome the rest of these fish. I can't keep all these fish. I have a lot of tanks, but even so, this is too much. I also have some blue dolphins growing up in here, and some more of the Stigmatochromis melancros. It's just a grow-out tank. You know, I like 125 gallons for that purpose. It really gives the fish space to stretch their fins and grow to their full potential. All right, so last tank. We're saving the best for last. Well, one of the best. This is my 650-gallon monster aquarium. I mean, these guys are, right? Look at this. This is Samson. He's a monster. These two giant gourami are beasts. We got some bala sharks, a bunch of silver dollars. So this tank is 9 feet long, 4 feet front to back. All right, it wouldn't be a proper tour if we didn't address the elephant in the room, or should I say the monster in the room. This guy right here is Samson. He is my 34-inch fire eel, and he is, I mean, he's just amazing. Look at this thing. Look at this guy. I got some other monsters in here. This is Bert, my male albino giant gourami, and his girlfriend, Gert. We got Bert and Gert here. They're pretty cool. I mean, they're up there in terms, they might tie for my favorite, maybe, because I love the iridescent, the pearl white color. But I just have a special place in my heart for Samson. I've had him for about 6 years now, maybe 7 years. He's full grown, and he is just, I mean, majestic. I mean, is that weird to call a fish majestic? I mean, I'm gonna do it. He is majestic. We got some other really cool fish in here, these bala sharks. We got a school of silver dollars. I love silver dollars. And they get big too. That fish right there is probably, that's a 8-inch, 9-inch silver dollar, just from tip to tail. And they also get really tall. Those fish get bigger than most people realize if you keep them properly. We also have some cichlids in here. This is an Indian cichlid, cichlid from India. This is the green chromide. Cool fish. And we also have some more Madagascans in here. That's a starry night back there. Oh, here's another one. This is better view. We have, I think, 6 starry night cichlids in here. So, yeah. pretty cool tank. You know, I got some driftwood in here that I went out and forged myself. Really nice pieces. I got some more pieces I'm going to add in. I'm actually going to probably be doing a major rescape of this tank soon, which I will maybe make a video about if I have the time. But this is the biggest tank we have here. It's awesome. I love it. All right. Just look at those guys. I could sit here and watch this thing all day. All right, well, thanks for joining, guys. I really enjoyed taking you around the fish room, giving you this little tour. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. I love hearing from you guys. Other than that, I'll see you in 2025.